Welcome back to the channel and our life out in the country. Today we're still working on the bedroom remodel, but we're going to start out in the barn. I have to rip some wood to start furring out the walls and getting it ready for drywall. So right now our house has 2x4 walls, which are 3.5 inches thick. We want to thicken those walls up to 5.5 inches so we can put more insulation in the walls. To do that, I'm going to have to rip 2-inch pieces of wood to screw to the face of the 2x4 studs. And I'm going to do that with these 2x6s. I chose a 2x6 because I can get two 2-inch pieces of wood out of it, and that's cheaper than ripping a 2x4 down individually. So I'm going to do about 10 of them, go in the house, start attaching them, and then come back and see how many more I need to do. This is going to be a pain. This is too long to hold up. Let me make something to support these as I'm cutting them. So we'll make something about 13 inches tall. Alright, this setup's working pretty good. The floor isn't level, but that's the right height. I'm going to keep ripping and hopefully get through 10 of these boards before we get inside the house and start working. Now some people choose to skip all this ripping of lumber and just buy 2x2 lumber to screw to the face of their studs, and that brings the wall out to about 5 inches thick, because you'd have the 3.5 inch wall plus 1.5 inches for the 2x. That works. 5 inches is close enough for the insulation. It'll do its job, but it's not what we're looking for. We want the true 5.5 inch walls. So I'm going the route of ripping the lumber. If you do cut your own lumber like this, make sure you keep the rounded sides. You can see when you look at a stud, some of the corners are round. Well, all the corners are rounded, but when you cut them, you'll have a square edge. You don't want to have square edges on both sides because you always want the rounded side facing out in your room. Because when you're laying drywall, that helps if your stud isn't totally straight for the drywall to not be pushed out by it. If you have a sharp corner, a little turn pushes out a lot more than a round corner does. So just make sure you keep those rounded edges out, and always keep a rounded edge on the wood you're choosing. Alright guys, I got my wood in the house. Now we can start installing it. I'm going to be starting with the base, 2 inches thick. That's going to bring this measurement to 5.5 inches to the face. So I'm going to be screwing this straight down to the floor. And that's going to be our base piece. Alright, the next piece I'm going to put at the top. This one we're going to have to face screw it. So that's looking good. I'm leaving a gap right here because that's kind of how the rest of the room is built. The ceiling's going to go up here, but I don't want to push this off the stud because then I won't have a good spot to screw. So I'm going to fill this with spray foam before we do drywall. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here. It's pretty basic. Putting the wood on the studs, screwing them in, just making sure they're nice and straight. there it is. The first section is done, and you can see nice and tight. 5.5 inches. Perfect, clean lines. Ready for insulation. Pretty awesome. Alright, I got my top piece and bottom piece and some of the walls done. It's time for more wood. So I'm going to run outside, rip some more wood now that I can see exactly what I need left. And I'll be back in a minute. So let's see where we're at. You know, we got the walls all built out with our 2-inch strips, so now we have a 5.5-inch thick wall. You just saw me build and stand this wall up into place. That worked out really well, a lot easier than I expected. It looks so good. Again, I'm building this wall so that I have a solid, straight, plumb wall to put drywall on. and then later on I'll take the wall behind it out when I do the next room. It's right back to back, but you can see their wall isn't straight. There's a big gap at the top. But down here, they're touching. So I built my wall nice and plumb. It's just very straight. I put these blocks in because of the closets I'm going to be building. These are going to be nailers. I'm going to have a wall here and a wall here. We're going to have 3 sections. It all makes sense when you see it come together. You just have to trust me on what I want to do. So I just put those in so I'd have something to attach my side walls to. And now I'm getting ready for the corner nailers. These are actually boards that I pulled out of the closet that was in here. And they're just going to go right behind here. I'm going to screw through the face into that, and that'll give me a corner to attach my drywall to when I do that wall. So I just put a mark on it, 1 3/4 inches from the edge, which is actually a center line. And I'm just doing that so that when I set it back here, I can get it kind of lined up with that line. And when I screw it in, I know that it's only going halfway behind the stud. I only want it halfway because when I get to the next room, I'm going to need another board on the other side for the nailer for the drywall. You can see how that created my nailer. And now I got to do the same thing on the other side. This corner's dark. I'm going to draw a line on it, do the same exact thing. I'm also going to need a nailer up here. I always say nailer, but I'm screwing the drywall, but you know what I mean. We'll also need one for the ceiling, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm using a 2x4 this time. Just put it on the edge of the wall, I'm going to screw it in, and we'll be done. So I got it clamped in. Let's screw it in. Here we go. Done is done. Nailer in this corner. Did I show you this? What I ended up doing was taking a 2x4 and I had to space it out. I don't know if you can see in there, but there's a 1/2 inch strip of OSB behind there. Plywood basically, and I just had to do that because the 2x4 is 1.5 inches and I needed to build it off of the stud 2 inches to match these. So I did a 1/2 inch spacer, and then I screwed my 2x4 to the face of it, and then I screwed this 2-inch strip of wood to the face of my 2x4, and that creates the corner for this wall. We'll just have to stuff some insulation back there. This one was easy, just like the other corners, just screwing it in. Alright, the window might be tricky to show you, but this spot, I did double these up where the 2x4s were doubled up to give me a smooth side on either side for the insulation to go into. Above the window we have a header, and that's that big block of wood right there. And I wasn't going to bother filling this whole space in with wood, so I just put a strip above the window and at the ceiling to attach my drywall to. I'm not sure what I want to do in here. Technically, probably the best option would to be get like a 2-inch foam board and cut a piece to fit in there. I might do that, I don't know yet. Looking back on the project, the only thing I think I would have changed is this top board. I might have been better off just going straight up to the ceiling with it and screwing it into the ceiling joists and not leaving that little gap up there. The reason I left the gap is because I wanted to screw it to the wood evenly and leave enough wood to attach drywall or crown molding or anything to. The further you put it up, 1/2 inch of it's going to be covered by the ceiling, and then you only have 1 inch left of wood. I don't know. I haven't decided yet if that's the way I want to continue on the rest of the house. So now we're ready to start putting in the electrical. I think all the framing is done. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. I'm not going to bother framing out the closets yet. That'll be in another video because I'm not doing it yet. I have a plan for that that I'll explain later in another video. But now that these walls are all built out, I can put my electrical boxes in, start running wiring, and then onto insulation. This is going to start moving along finally. So there it is. I guess we're going to end it here for today. Electrical work comes next. This is how I furred out my studs. In case you guys need to beef out your walls, it's pretty easy. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and until next time, take care.